Just as a crew of robbers was about to split up $5 million from a massive heist, one female member, Zane, suddenly announced she was going to take a shower right in front of everyone. She mocked the guys for acting shocked, saying they clearly hadn't seen much in life, especially after spending so many days calling each other brothers. When the team leader walked out of the bathroom, he looked completely confused by what was happening. The others thought Zane was just loosening things up, never realizing a brutal double cross was seconds away.
Gun!
The leader reacted fast enough. He grabbed the pistol off the table and smashed through the window to escape. But the moment he hit the ground, the gun flew out of his hand, and he also took a bullet to the kidney. He quickly crawled behind a rock for cover. Unfortunately, the other side already had the upper hand. With no way to fight back, he decided to throw himself into the river and play dead for the night. When he finally woke up, his wounds had already been bandaged by an old friend. After watching his crew get slaughtered and the stolen money disappear, Parker had only one thing left on his mind: revenge for his teammates and getting back what belonged to him. Without wasting a second, he smashed through a wall with a kettle and pulled out the weapons and stacks of cash he had hidden there earlier. Since the crew had only been put together temporarily, one of the dead members happened to be his closest friend. He drove to his late friend's house first and promised the man's wife that if he got the money back, he'd give half of it to her as compensation. Parker was a world-class professional thief, not some reckless brute. While recovering from his injuries, he used every connection he had to hunt down Zane's whereabouts. Through one of his contacts, he finally got a lead.
No, I'll call if I do. Hey, where's the adult magazines? Hey, not you again. Hey, what do you think?
People who get robbed often understand this well. Once it becomes a habit, muscle memory takes over. Parker immediately tracked the man down, hijacked his driver, and pulled a gun the moment the target got into the car.
Lock down, that's my mother's!
But right then, he spotted assassins sent by Zane tailing them through the rearview mirror. Parker might be a thief, but his combat skills were absolutely top tier. Random gunfire from average shooters couldn't even touch him. Meanwhile, the guy sitting inside the car wasn't nearly as lucky. In less than 5 seconds, he was shredded by the hail of bullets. Some bystanders only wanted to record the chaos for TikTok, but after seeing the overwhelming firepower, Parker took the chance to open the trunk and release the kidnapped driver. The driver turned out to be highly skilled too, immediately pulling out his gun and firing back. Once everyone else was dead, Parker slowly stepped out from behind the car while the last surviving gunman tried to run. Using that survivor, Parker finally tracked down Zane. When Parker demanded to know where the money went, Zane casually told him the millions had already been spent. Since the cash was gone, Parker didn't rush to kill her. What he really wanted to know now was where the money had been used, because maybe some of it could still be recovered. But Zane explained that she betrayed Parker because she planned to use the $5 million to pull off an even bigger score, one tied to information worth $1 billion. It turned out that 6 months earlier, a 15th century Spanish shipwreck had been discovered off the coast near Zane's homeland, loaded with gold and priceless treasures. And among all the artifacts, the centerpiece was a goddess statue worth over $1 billion, more valuable than the country's entire annual GDP. The country's president was extremely corrupt and had secretly teamed up with the New York Mafia to steal the treasure for themselves. Their plan was to publicly display the statue at United Nations headquarters first, pretending they were discussing ownership rights. Then they would arrange for the Mafia to hijack it midway, creating the illusion that the artifact had been stolen before secretly splitting the profits together. As for Zane's motives, it wasn't just greed. She was native to that country and had personally witnessed the president's dictatorship and the suffering of the people. She wanted to take the treasure away from the corrupt government. Most of it would go back to the people, while a smaller share would be used to pay Parker. But unfortunately, the one key contact who knew everything had just been killed by Parker himself. After hearing Zane's plan, Parker immediately decided to put aside his personal grudge and work with her temporarily. He wasn't doing it for the money, at least that's what he claimed. Then he casually added that he only wanted 30%, which still came out to $300 million. Zane's crew obviously didn't want to agree, but without Parker, there was no chance they could pull off a job this massive, so they were forced to accept the deal. They created a fake replica of the shipwreck goddess statue and planned to secretly swap it inside the United Nations. But Parker came up with an even crazier idea. Why not rob the robbers instead? Once the Mafia stole the statue, they could hit them with another ambush and steal it again, saving themselves the trouble of breaking into the heavily guarded United Nations building. Everyone was stunned. This was exactly why Parker was considered a legendary thief. Right after that, Parker assembled an entirely new crew because Zane had already betrayed him once before. It didn't take long for Parker to finalize the plan. Based on the intel, the treasure was about to be transported to New York, where the mafia would intercept it. The moment the statue was transferred by train would be their perfect opportunity to strike. There was a fail-safe device installed on the tracks at the station, designed to automatically stop trains that exceeded a certain speed limit. The target speed was 70 miles per hour. At that speed, the train would derail around the curve and slide straight into the dirt embankment nearby. They would have a truck waiting there, spend 10 minutes loading the cargo, then drive off with the treasure. But what they didn't know was that the mafia boss had already received intel that Parker planned to hijack the operation, and he decided Parker needed to be eliminated immediately. As night fell, Zane tried using charm to ease the tension between herself and Parker. She personally poured him a glass of Sprite, but after getting burned once already, Parker knew better than to let his guard down again. But just then, Zane's boyfriend suddenly barged in, assuming the two were having an affair, and immediately overpowered Parker. The reckless idiot wasted no time stripping Parker naked and handcuffing him outside in the freezing snow. He even called the mafia boss, hoping to use him to get Parker killed, never realizing he was bringing disaster onto himself. Parker cursed them for being idiots. A bunch of desperate criminals working together and still believing they could walk away alive was downright laughable. Right then, headlights appeared in the distance, and screams from their men quickly echoed through the woods. Only then did the guy realize how badly he had screwed up, and he hurried to unlock Parker's handcuffs. Moments later, Zane rushed over, but before either of them could speak, the mafia's gunman had already crept up behind them. After dealing with the low-level thugs, the mafia boss conveniently called again. Parker grabbed the phone and calmly informed him that every one of his men had been wiped out, but the boss sounded unusually calm. Because he had already predicted Parker would come after the treasure, Parker instantly realized something was wrong. He thought he was the hunter waiting to strike, only to discover he was the real prey all along. He immediately called his crew and ordered them to activate the plan early, but his teammates had already relaxed completely at home, some drinking, others fooling around. After getting the order, they had no choice but to rush to the train station unprepared. Two of them arrived first and disguised themselves as railway supervisors. Claiming armed hijackers had infiltrated the station and tampered with the train routes, they demanded staff open the control room immediately. Thanks to their quick thinking, they successfully reached the train control panel and pushed the hijackers' train to maximum speed. Meanwhile, the teammate responsible for disabling the rail safety system accidentally dropped his pistol under the tracks because he was drunk. With the train rapidly approaching, he had no choice but to operate the mechanism by hand. Once the speed limiter failed, the train began barreling down the tracks, violently shaking, making the hijackers inside miserable. But when the train reached the planned derailment curve, it suddenly slowed down and never derailed like they expected. Parker and Zane were completely stunned and could only watch the train continue forward. Parker reacted instantly and ordered the train accelerated again. He then rushed toward the next sharp curve, knowing everything would be decided there. After receiving the order, another teammate sped beneath the bridge on a motorcycle, preparing to shoot the track circuit breaker with his pistol. The device was successfully triggered, and the train finally lost control while taking the turn, derailing exactly as planned. The crash site was total chaos, but despite all the disasters along the way, Parker's crew escaped without a scratch. The cargo container was finally open, but everyone froze in shock. There was no treasure inside, only piles of worthless rocks. Parker then noticed a tracking device and instantly realized the mafia boss had set them up from the start. The entire operation was bait meant to frame and hunt them down. When enemy reinforcements arrived to surround them, Parker and his crew easily gunned them all down before escaping in a hurry. But their tires had already been blown out, and before they could get far, police cars appeared ahead. Luckily, one teammate managed to hijack a police cruiser just in time. The mission had completely failed, and the exhausted crew gathered together, already thinking about disbanding on the spot. But Parker had no intention of giving up. If anything, the setback only made him more determined. He believed that even if the mafia boss had hidden the treasure, a massive traditional goddess statue would be impossible to conceal forever. It had to be stored somewhere in a New York warehouse. Since robbing the robbers had failed, Parker decided to target the buyer instead. Anyone capable of purchasing something that valuable had to be a billionaire. After narrowing down the suspects, they quickly identified the target. The billionaire loved posting his daily life on TikTok, so Parker easily tracked his movements and immediately went to confront him at an upscale restaurant. At first, the wealthy buyer acted arrogant and even mocked Parker for bluffing. But once Parker pointed a real gun at him, The man quickly folded and told them everything. The goddess statue was being stored inside Vault Number 1 of an ultra-secure facility, and brute force was completely useless against it. The cage inside was made of tungsten carbide and reinforced alloy. Just cutting through it would take several days. The only way in was to wait for the timed system to unlock automatically. At exactly 8 o'clock the next morning, the cage would open on its own, but after returning to their hideout, the crew barely discussed how to break into the vault. Instead, they focused on how they would transport the statue once they got it. Soon after, the group headed toward the vault, leaving one teammate behind to guard the buyer. Unfortunately, that teammate loved drinking. After getting drunk, he passed out cold on the couch. The billionaire seized the chance to free himself from the ropes and immediately contacted the mafia, exposing Parker's entire attack plan. Although the boss trusted the vault's security system, he still wasn't fully comfortable. Parker was a legendary thief after all, so he gathered his men and headed for the vault personally. By this point, Parker's crew had already planted explosives on the vault entrance. After blowing open the door, they successfully infiltrated the facility, while the mafia boss arrived only to find the vault completely empty.
Damn it! How?
The next second, he spotted Parker's crew escaping in modified snow vehicles while towing the goddess statue behind them, and immediately ordered pursuit. To protect the treasure, Parker climbed onto the trailer himself and launched a fierce counterattack. After an intense gunfight, the trailer entered a small town. While swerving to avoid traffic, one inexperienced teammate accidentally took a turn too sharply and flung Parker off the vehicle. Parker simply took a shortcut to catch back up, but the moment he climbed aboard again, the ropes securing the statue suddenly slipped loose, sending him crashing to the ground a second time. At the same time, the teammates driving the trailer encountered a mafia roadblock directly ahead and were forced onto a steep slope. What nobody expected was for the trailer to disconnect from the truck completely, allowing the treasure to fall straight into mafia hands. The boss delivered the goddess statue to the buyer, but the second the buyer touched one of the gems, it dropped onto the floor. That was when the buyer realized the statue was fake, and he noticed two words engraved on the gemstone. He immediately complained to the president, who exploded in fury and accused the mafia boss of trying to profit from both sides at once. Their trust collapsed instantly, and the partnership completely fell apart. Only then did the boss realize Parker had played him. He immediately turned his men around and rushed back to the vault. It turned out everything had been part of Parker's distraction plan from the very beginning. The teammate had intentionally pretended to get drunk and let the billionaire escape, knowing the man would definitely inform the mafia. And the massive chase the night before had only been meant to draw attention away from the real objective, waiting until 8 o'clock for the vault to unlock automatically so they could steal the real goddess statue. They had even swapped the number plates for Vault 1 and Vault 3 beforehand, completely misleading the mafia boss. When the boss returned to the vault, he came face to face with Parker's crew waiting for him there. He originally believed victory was guaranteed, but the moment he saw the bomb detonator in Parker's hand, panic finally set in. At that exact moment, the president's forces arrived and opened fire indiscriminately. After the brutal shootout, the mafia was practically wiped out. Then Parker detonated the explosives, destroying the priceless statue completely. He didn't care about the money anymore. He only wanted the corrupt monsters behind all this to finally face punishment. Afterward, Parker calmly walked out of the vault and escaped the battlefield. Back at the hideout, the crew looked miserable after coming away empty-handed, despite everything they had gone through. But to everyone's surprise, Parker suddenly pulled several gems from his pocket that he had secretly pried off the statue earlier. After splitting them up, each person would still walk away with millions. At the same time, the TV news announced that a new president had taken power in Zane's homeland, while the former corrupt president had been disgraced and imprisoned. Zane had finally achieved what she wanted, and to avenge his best friend, Parker eventually put a bullet in Zane and ended her life himself.